would stand for the invocation and the pledge. Heavenly Father, as we come here this morning, we ask your blessing on this day. We ask that you would lead and guide and that we would make good decisions this day. We thank you. In Jesus' name. Okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, thank you all for coming this morning. Mr. Secretary, could we have the roll call?
Lynch. Lynch.
Here.
Weiner. Here. Potter. Here. Perrin.
Here.
Schlicker.
Here.
Bain.
Here.
Benuck.
Here.
Brumman.
Here.
Turek. Here. And Director Rick Hazel has an excused absence.
Okay, we have a quorum. Okay. Next item, the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
I think let's have a discussion first.
Yeah.
And who was the second?
Phil.
Phil,
Mr. Potter.
go ahead. Did you have something you wanted to?
I had nothing to add.
Yes. Is there any discussion?
The resignation that's on the table, does that need to be added to the agenda?
Yeah, probably should.
Do you want to do
Guess
it?
that would be under probably new business.
Why don't we do it sooner than that? Why don't we do it before public comment?
Okay.
That way we can continue on with work.
Okay, we'll add that to it, and right after we approve the agenda, we will take up that matter. Is that,
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
okay. So, with that in mind, everybody in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. This agenda is approved with addition.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I get mixed up. I bring forth a motion to accept the resignation of Director Hazel at this time.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a couple seconds. I guess Dolores seconded the motion. Okay. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm present. I would recommend a roll call on this, please.
Yes. Okay. Any other discussion on this matter? Okay, Mr. Secretary, do a roll call.
Lynch.
Yes.
Weiner.
Yes.
Potter.
Yes.
Perrin.
Yes.
Schlicker.
Yes.
Bain. Benuck.
Yes.
Turek. Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to have the approval of last month's minutes.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Okay. Just everybody's had a chance to look those over. Okay, we have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Been seconded.
Wait.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting last month's minutes, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, now we come to our public comment period. Those who would like to make a comment, would you please stand, state your name and your township or village, wherever you live. And yes, there's 2 minutes. So.
I'm Kay Lovelace. I'm from Mankato Township. It's in regards to the pop-up pantry we had last Wednesday. We had 259 boxes made. We had 586 people come through, and there was 12 people that was brand new that never been through the pop-ups before. And we are still asking if we could please have the items that we've been using all along for this. It's tarps, heaters, carts, vests, tables, and 11 cones, the safety cones. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else have a comment? Yes.
Good morning, Margie Sarah, Haynes Township. I was just wondering if you could please have copies of the minutes available for the public to read prior to the meeting, in case they had any questions on it. I didn't see anything on the agenda that talks to the $12.5 million grant. Where are we? What's happening? Have we any opinion on that?
Thank you.
Pam McKinnon, Lincoln, Spruce. This is actually for Madam Director. I commend you on your job that you have done in picking up the pieces.
Point of order.
Lack of pieces. I'm not going
Point
to
of
stop.
order.
I'm not going to stop. Is the lack
Ma'am?
of pieces that you.
Point of order, please.
I'm sorry, the comments have to be directed toward
Okay,
the
to the
president.
board,
To the president.
to the president. I would like to thank you very much for your help. I'd like to comment towards the director, not to her, towards her. I commend her on the job that she has done, picking up the pieces or lack of pieces that were left for her by her predecessor. I'd also like to express my disappointment on how she's done in other areas, like appointing people to positions that I don't feel were appropriate. Like, for example, the HR person that has absolutely no personality. She was hired, she is excuse me, I know she was treated me very poorly as just a volunteer. She stood in this audience and yelled she would leave when Lenny did, yet she is still here and got promoted. Shelby, is she qualified? Her,
Point of order.
her activities towards the
I'm
senior
sorry.
friends.
No names, please.
Yes.
No personal.
Okay, so the person that was put in charge of the direct care, is she really qualified? Her activities towards a senior friend of mine was totally unacceptable. The ACCOA is basically the only reason she is able to stay in her home. She's very handicapped. Yet she was called on Friday afternoon of Memorial Day weekend and was told she would no longer be getting her services. All the while, everybody had a nice long weekend and was not able to be in touch until Tuesday.
10 seconds.
Was they responded to? Don't worry, I already know the answer. Also, you gave your notice over a month ago. I'm wondering why you're still here. I have more
Okay. Thank you for
Say.
your comments.
at the end, I guess.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just Dobbs, Curtis Township. I was just curious if there's any updates on the logo contest?
Can't hear.
Any updates on the logo contest?
Other comments, please? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you. We now have the executive director's report.
The volume, I'm sorry. There's a push button, I think the up, down is the volume control.
Is that better?
No,
Maybe the speakers are
Unfortunately, I'm in charge of this too, and I need to let people in.
No, what's going on with the sound?
Really, none of you are coming on the microphone.
not like last.
Check, 1, 2.
Yeah, it's gotta be the speakers.
I think it's supposed to be blue if it's
Yes.
working properly. So why don't we just all speak up? I think everybody could use us speaking up anyway, whether we have microphones or not.
With the old-fashioned way, we'll stand.
Yeah, do it the old-fashioned way.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
let's do this. So, I'm gonna start with the budget. Of the $308,000 that the board, we thought would be refunded into the general fund from building expenses, will now be only $87,271. The reason for that is the people who gave us the grant have a window in which we can pull that money from the grant, and it didn't start until October. However, expenses started prior to that, so we get to eat that, unfortunately. Let's see. We have a new budget officer, Connie Francel. She will be briefing the budget a little later when it's her turn on the agenda. She's building our budget from scratch. We've had so many changes, so it's been quite an endeavor for her. And she should have that done by next week. Then we can start to look at things where we'll reduce costs, and we'll bring that to a vote to the board. Grants. I did submit grants to NEMSCA this month for over $20,000. We will find out whether we will receive those in August, and the funds would be received for services beginning October 1st for our fiscal year. Vehicles. The non-emergency transportation program ended last Friday, and the board, which also had a vehicle, ended in May. Request the board determines what it would like to do with the 5 vehicles that supported these programs. All or some of the vehicles could be sold. 2 of the vans had expensive modifications for wheelchairs. The vehicles include a 2012 Ford Econoline bus, 2014 Chevy Traverse, a 2019 Dodge van, a 2019 white Dodge van, and the pantry had a 2009 GMC van or truck. We paid a total of $101,920 for these vehicles. Staff member is getting quotes or an assessment from a local car salesperson who will let us know what the value of those are. We do have people interested in the communities. We have a church. We have NEMSCA's reached out, and so there's interest. I do recommend that all the vehicles be sold given our current fiscal climate. If we were to keep one, that would be for staff travels. We currently pay if the staff member has to go to a meeting. They get paid 65 cents a mile. So there is some value to keeping it, but we don't really have that many meetings, and the direct care workers use their own vehicles and get reimbursed. So there's not much of a savings there. The money could be used to help to fund the current shortage, or to pay down the 30-year loan from which they were purchased. So at this time, I would like to request a vote as to how many or all vehicles that the board would like to sell. I recommend selling all 5 vehicles. Appropriate question?
I have a question. I can't remember the person's name, but we were talking about this situation. And they said it's fairly common during COVID time and, you know, the type of loan that we received as a 501c3 that we could ask for forgiveness of that loan. Has anyone looked at that?
When Susan was here, there were actually 2 COVID loans. One of them was forgiven, this one was not. It's an SBA small business loan. The fact that it was reported that it was not forgiven, I assume that somebody went through those motions at that time. We had to start paying that back in January. Would you like me to look further?
I don't know. think
Yes,
it
I
might
would
be-
appreciate it if you just follow up and just make sure that that is true, that that won't be forgiven.
I'd like to make a motion so we can continue this under discussion to sell all 5 vehicles
Okay,
for the director's request.
okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
No second.
Okay, second by Stan. Okay, any discussion?
Is there any possibility that in the future we might start a transport just for senior citizens in our local area or in Alcona? That we might keep one of the vehicles, or or the bus that transports what, 12? Is there a possibility that in the future, near future, we might start up that, or do you think it's not feasible?
Oh. Yeah, I would say I'm going to go over some of our finances, either when Denise is talking now or during the committee portion, and I think you'll see that we really are in no position financially to even consider that currently. I would like to have the executive director's opinion, looking back at what her and Susan Cray said, that this was a non-performing, I guess at best. It never made money, it lost money quite a bit as it was. So I'd like to hear your comment.
Yes, sir, it did lose money, lost a significant amount of money. The issue here, I spoke to another director in Presqu'île. Their program was able to make money. They get money from MDOT. However, because Thunder Bay out of Alpena serves Alcona County, we are not authorized to go through MDOT. DHS goes through MDOT. DHS refunded us for our program, which was not as lucrative. So we're kind of stuck there between, we've already got a service that's being reimbursed to our citizens, to our seniors, and there's no way that I've found, to make money on that program. Initially, it was provided to people who were out of the county, people who were under 60. As soon as we turned that off because it was a compliance issue, I believe the amount was $416 it was costing us out of our millage funds, because NEMSCA doesn't pay for that per trip. So it's up to you.
And I believe, talking to the Lappin agency, there was an extra fee also. Our insurance rates went up starting at that point in time also. So that was also, I don't think you had factored that in at that time. I don't know that you had those numbers, but it definitely was a part of what raised our insurance premium.
Yeah, I do believe that I included the insurance costs. There's also the cameras that are on the vehicles were very expensive too. It was the live, should there be an accident. Those are, I don't remember the cost of those, but it was very expensive monthly.
And just when your past recommendation to the board at a previous meeting was to suspend or discontinue those programs, it was based upon a compliance issue for the most part, not just a money issue, but that it was, you felt that it was not within our scope.
For the transportation program, it was purely fiscal. It was a money issue, because we had turned off the services to those who were under 60 and outside of the county. But then we lost half of our clientele, which made it even less lucrative for us, or more expensive, I should say.
Any other comments?
Who would be selling the vehicles? I mean, are we going to, it says that we're going to be getting an estimate from a used car. Are we going to try to sell them by ourselves, owner, or, person to person, or?
Well, as I have mentioned, we have two entities that may be interested. An individual may be interested in one too. I can't remember, Len is the name of the guy who owns the local car dealership. He said he might be interested in buying them all. So I think we just need to see what the value is and what we can get for them and who it's going to serve.
Mr. President, usually what we've done, at least on the Board of Commissioners thing, was usually we accept bids on the vehicles, and then we as the board would vote on the bids on the vehicles, and then we would, I mean, usually that's the way it's done. It's not trusted to an individual. It becomes a board matter because it's fiduciary. And we're talking big money here, so that would be my thought process.
I agree, we did that at the city, and I worked at the city too, everything was a bid.
And then one last thing, that the SBA loan that was taken out was $150,000. Looking back in the minutes, at that time it wasn't delineated what that would be going towards. But in your best estimation, they went towards purchasing the vehicles, $101,920.
That's my assumption. I will be very.
And we're currently making a monthly payment of something like $674 on that.
Yeah, 644, 650 range. And that did not include the pantry vehicle. That was separate. That pantry vehicle only cost $5,000.
Any,
I have no more questions.
I'm sorry, I guess I have a question. I mean, math kind of bothers me. That means we're about $49,000 unaccountable from that loan. Is that about correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I figured it is 48,080.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Exactly.
have a calculator.
Yeah, that's what I factored that in, and that money presumably was put into our savings, which, so really, since we're making loan payments on that money, it's not really savings. It might look like our savings is higher than it is, but part of it is from this loan that was unused, so.
Correct, and Connie might be able to, I believe she's watching right now, I'm not certain. She may be able to, because she's pulling all this together right now, she might be able to address this matter further.
I would recommend, unless anybody else has got discussion, we call for this vote, and I would recommend a roll call on this one.
Okay, throw something out there. I was, your views on what if we chose a committee to take care of this and to, take care of the, I mean, I want to get rid of the vehicles and sell it and put the money back in. But if we have a committee from the board.
You don't need a committee. They can submit the bids to the director, and then they are just brought to the board. We all have to vote on it. So there's really not, I don't really see committee action
Okay.
on this. I mean, would that be an issue, Madam Director?
No, sir, however you would like to do it. We're prepared to support whatever you would like to do.
So for something like that, we would be able to either call a special meeting or whatever, instead of waiting another month for a board meeting to make a decision on that.
I think the executive board can meet in between regular meetings, make a decision, and then it has to be ratified by the full board at the next regular scheduled meeting.
Okay.
That would also have to go out for bids in the local papers. And advertise that we're accepting bids, subject to accept or reject any and all bids.
Okay. So, Director, would you like to restate your motion, please?
Okay, how would you like it worded so that we...
That's fine. I just want everybody to know what
I'm willing to modify it. I will trust Director Turk to modify that motion to include for the bids coming in, and then the executive committee to,
If need be, if it
Yes.
comes in before the next meeting.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Your second?
second.
Okay. Who's in second? Any other discussion on that motion? Okay, and I do believe we should have a roll call vote on that. Secretary?
Turek, yes. Benup,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Schlicker,
Yes.
Parent,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes.
Weinar,
Yes.
Lynch.
This is for the bids? No.
I'm sorry, just one addition to it. I don't think anybody's going to have an issue to it when those bids are received. They have to be, attention to, and they are left unopened and submitted to the board. I'm sorry, I just got clarification from my wise men.
If we could get something in writing as how we would like to do it, I would appreciate that, just so we get it right.
Yeah.
Follow up with that. Okay, so our motion passes.
So the next item is the pantry. So ACCOA has handed over the reins to volunteers Jamie Reichert and Kay Lovelight. Please, thank you very much. You've done a phenomenal job. We appreciate you. The fact that this service is still reaching people who are hungry. There is discussion, or has been discussion, between the United Methodist Church I guess, sponsoring them or partnering with them so that they can be partnered with a nonprofit, which is a Northern Michigan Food Bank requirement. Once they do that, they would become a nonprofit entity. We would be authorized, I believe, that with NEPSCA is in the audience, to donate those pantry items to this effort so that it may continue to move forward and support the citizens in their food insecurities. Not with grant funds. This was not purchased, they were not purchased with grant funds. So we're talking the things that Kay mentioned earlier, 2 propane heaters, 2 hand trucks, 1 pallet jack, 5 of the wooden tables, not the plastic ones because we need those, 6 safety cones, 1 clear tote with knives and cords, tote with rain ponchos, tablecloths, gloves, masks, and two conveyor rollers and 4 tarps. So those are all the items that I have listed. So I guess I would like a vote on whether the board is okay if once this nonprofit is set up with these volunteers that we can donate these items to that effort.
Excuse me, are you talking the conveyor, the rollers that's in the truck now?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
ones that fold up like an accordion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we need a motion to?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we donate all the items that you suggested, and was the carts on that list?
2 carts, 1 pallet jack and 2 hand trucks. That's
Okay.
the ones that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we donate them to the new food bank, pop-up pantry group.
I'll second.
Okay, we have the first and a second on the motion. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I just want to make sure we don't trip over ourselves once again. Is any of that stuff property, and was any of that property purchased with monies that we're not allowed to give that stuff away? I just.
A grant of some sort.
Yes.
That's my question also.
Well, I believe Denise checked into that, didn't you, whether it's paid for by grants or?
It was village money. So if we're okay to donate stuff that we purchased with village money, I would need to look into that. A lot of this stuff is not, we can't find receipts from it. Some of it's very old, like the tables came with the building. So it would have been village.
Mr. President, can I ask the Director Schlicker, would you mind amending your motion, subject to making sure that all these conditions are met? Making sure that there's nothing that we're required to retrain?
Yes, I will amend my motion.
Thank you.
And for Denise to follow up on this? Yes, I will.
Second amendment?
Okay, second that amendment.
All right. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none at this time, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, on to the Meyer bucks. So the Meyer bucks are, Karen had, when she was here, put $5,000 into Meyer bucks, and Meyer tripled that to $15,000, and there's already $4,000 plus. So we currently have $19,340 remaining in Meyer buck cards. When we close the pop-up and appointment pantry operations, the churches that agreed to support us, we're told about this and the possibility that it could go their way, because we want to make sure that all the money that was donated, that was through the GoFundMe, the results of those labors went back to the public. So I would like to request a vote as to how the board would like to divvy that money up. We are starting a pilot program for hungry seniors, people who show up here who are hungry. We give them a box out of our pantry. So we want to see how that goes. We have no way to fund that. So I'd like to request that the following breakdown. $9,500 to Harrisville UMC, They serve the majority of the clients in the area. They have a pop-up pantry, or they have a regular pantry, a brick and mortar pantry once a month. That's one, $9,500 to Harrisville UMC, $3,500 to Lot Baptist Church. They're a little further away, but they do deliver boxes, which is bonus to some people who can't get there. And then $6,340 to ACCOA for the Hunger Box pilot program that I just mentioned. So you can break it down any way you like. That's just how I threw out the numbers. So I would ask for your vote.
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion to provide the $9,500 to the UNC, $3,500 to Lot Baptist Church, $6,300 to ACCOA. I'm going to make it for the duration of 90 days to see how this pans out, and then adjust it accordingly.
Okay. We have a motion? We have a second on that.
I'll second it.
Motion's been seconded, so any discussion?
Yeah, the reason I said for 90 days is to evaluate it. We may find out that we're not going to spend the $6,300, at which point I would like to see it. Then, that would be the way I would view it. As with anything, since it's a trial, I want to keep a time frame on it. You can say, that wasn't a good idea, or that was a good idea.
Okay, go ahead.
Denise, could you explain what the Meyer Bucks is? I mean, if you give me one, what do I do with it?
Well, I can't give it, you can't give the cards out. So we take the cards and you call in an order, and we would actually have to call the orders in for the two churches, because we were granted these cards from Meyer. And we had to get their approval for this process and how this will work. So the churches would have to call us, or actually we would help the churches place the order, and then each of the churches would have to go to Meyer and pick it up.
So, but if ACCOA cannot be involved in this, how can we pay somebody to take the time to do all this? Is that gonna?
Is there a reason why we cannot support the churches that you're aware of, ma'am?
Oh, I thought it was going to the pop-up pantry too, or not?
Well,
It's just going to the church.
The
It's
Meyer
not-
Bucks can only support the brick and mortar pantries.
Okay, so the pop-up pantry wouldn't have anything to do with these Meyer Bucks then?
No,
Okay. Okay.
there's another issue with that. Let me just bring it up. So there was $2,500 left in the GoFundMe account. They spent $1,200 on the last truck, so there is $1,300 left. So good point, that $1,300, I don't know if we do a separate vote or part of the same vote, but that $1,300 goes to the volunteers, the volunteer organization of the pop-up pantry. Now it's a little confusing for you, I know. So,
Do we need a motion to take
No,
this?
we've got a motion right now.
Okay.
Okay, I do have one question just to clarify for me. A number C there, the 6340 to the ACCOA for the boxes. Now, I assume that we have to go and purchase the food with the Meyer Bucks, because out of our pantry, everything is, the great big size tins and that sort of stuff. So this would be for everyday people going to the store with their meals. Is that
correct. There is an emergency meal that we have. It's in a little white bag, and it's a can of soup, crackers, and a container of fruit. I don't want to confuse that with this box of food. The box of food has nutrition guidelines that include like a protein, dairy, carbs, fruit, juice. There's a set list of items that have to go into each box to ensure that you're giving them the proper nutrition.
And then with that 6340, once that money is expended, it's already been spent and given away. At that point, does the program end, or are we looking for more donations?
The program would end unless we take measures to either pull money out of our millage, or we look at fundraising funds. We would have to look for the funds from a different source.
Okay.
And by the way, those Meyer Buck cards do not expire.
How long does the box, is it like a day supply of food, or would it be like?
A week for
A week.
a week for a family of 4.
Okay. Any other discussion and questions? So, once again, do we need to clarify the motion? Does everybody understand it?
I would say just leave it the way it is right now. As I said, we're going to reevaluate this in 90 days, so that was the reason why I put a time.
Right.
I'll be happy to shorten the time frame if you want to try it for 60 days. I mean, you know, I'll do whatever the pleasure of the board is on the monitoring time.
Okay. I'm fine with it as it is. Anybody else have a discussion on that? Oh. Okay.
Yeah, let's do, well, I wasn't going to ask for a roll call, but yeah, we should. It's money. I'm sorry. Roll call, okay, sir?
Okay, so no further discussion on this matter? All right, then we will have a roll call vote. Mr. Secretary?
Potter,
Yes.
Schlicker,
Yes.
Weinar,
Yes.
Bay,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes,
Beduk,
Yes.
Turek, yes, Perrin.
Yes. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, next is the gym. The gym does not have great participation in the summer months, I've learned. We had 0 to 2 people each day for a number of weekends. So we have closed the gym on weekends for holiday hours, and would like to look at that next fall to see what the need is for having it open during the weekends. I guess any questions on that, or would that have required a vote? It was supposed to give 2 weeks notice, but the woman who worked in the gym had planned to take time off, and then when she heard what was going on, she quit. So we don't have a person now. So if that requires a vote, I guess I would ask for that now.
Mr. President?
I really don't think that requires a vote. Anybody else have comment on that?
I was going to agree with her. I think we leave that under the purview of the executive director to deal with
Yes.
with the operation of the building.
Yeah.
I agree. I do have one question. When we discussed our budget shortfall, that we can add to that, how much the closing or the decrease of that salary, how much will that add to help mitigate that?
Well, it's going to be about $11, and well, I can't speak to what somebody makes. So let me just do some quick math.
All right, so that is not part, my main question, that was not part of what has already been saved on Connie's form here. That hasn't been added, whatever you saved by closing that.
I will have to ask Connie that. So.
All right, is she going to be here available this week?
Yeah, she's scheduled. She'll be here whenever she's scheduled on the agenda.
All right, perfect.
I could ask her to come
Maybe
up
the
now,
finance
if she doesn't want
committee meeting report. All right, I have no further questions.
to. Okay, so one of the last few things here, congregate meals. So there is discussion right now, and we're doing research on the possibility of providing just 3 congregate meals a week. There are a number of Mondays and or Thursdays where we have only 4 or 5 seniors who come in to eat those meals. So it takes a lot away from the kitchen to be able to provide the home delivered meals. It's also an added cost. We've been having to order ready-made frozen meals rather than hiring somebody new, because it takes all that time. Whether you have 4 people or you have 25 people, it still takes the same effort. So I'm not asking for a vote. I'm just letting you know that we're researching that, and if there's any discussion on that, please guide us.
Mr. President, can I ask a question, please, sir?
Yes.
Madam Director, what You said Mondays and Thursdays were like a 3 or 4 person. What are we averaging on the other days that we're open?
I will,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
no, I'm guessing 10 to 15.
Okay.
Sometimes
I mean,
spike
I'm just
over
asking
20.
for a ballpark. And so we're averaging about 3 times as much, 3 to 5.
Yeah, Mondays and Thursdays aren't as popular. And it's summer too. It could be a summer thing. People are barbecuing and doing things outside.
Mr. President? I would say that if the board wants to maybe delay this until certainly after I speak about some of our financial issues later in the meeting, maybe that would, if we don't have to make a decision right now, we can kind of see where we're at, and I can lay some numbers down to you before we decide anything.
Mr. President, I guess my question is, again, I think this would come under the purview of what the director should be. I mean, that's the person that's got the steering wheel for this vessel. We let them make the decision on you know, how our budget is being affected by either having this many days. I mean, I hate to not include people, you know, with short numbers, but we have a budget situation. Again, I don't think this is something, that's just my opinion, that the board needs to decide.
I feel like it's going to require a little bit more conversation. I mean, the primary purpose of the senior center is feeding seniors. And anytime there's a cut or a change or whatever, that's affecting the seniors of this county. I do have a question with, okay, the evening meals. Okay, so the kitchen, you know, prepares the meals and, you know, they have plenty of food on hand and only 4 or 5 people show up. The remaining food is put into the home delivered meals, isn't it, at that point, and just frozen?
It can be.
So, I mean, it's not going to waste.
No.
You know, the food is there, it just be put into frozen meals for delivery. Yeah, I think we should table this motion for more discussion, and then,
There is no motion. I said there is no motion right now.
okay, well, okay, we should table this discussion and not have a vote until a later date, we have some more information to go on, so. Okay,
Yes, I just wanted to make sure before we spend a lot of time researching this that we're on a path that you're all in agreement with. Didn't want to waste a lot of time researching and then, you know, for what it's worth. Okay, so thank you for that. Our Facebook link, it's ACCOA Lincoln. So we only have about 150 people on there right now. So we might need, I'm going to have this put on our website so people can find it. I did try to click this ACCOA Lincoln and it was not successful, but the URL should be that. So more to come. We'll put it on the website for those who are having trouble finding it.
On the website also, the hours of operation, there's 2 different sets of hours. Just so you know, one says I believe 8 to 4, one says 8:30 to 4:30. Right on the first page, it's on there twice and they're not the same.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Okay.
Thanks. That concludes my comments, Mr. President.
one quick question on the, on our website, do we have our minutes of the last meeting listed on the website?
I do not know the answer to that. I'll have to find out. Would you like them to be posted on the website?
Yes, I believe that would be the best thing to have.
What was the question?
Posting the minutes on, you know, in other words, you're gonna write up the minutes within so many days, I guess you're expecting him to post them.
They're always posted. As far as I know, I send them to Robin, she sends them to the website, I post them as a draft until they're approved by the board. And once the board approves them, they should be submitted actually with my signature on it. Should be available on the board, on the website. Yeah, we've had problems in the past getting things done correctly, but that's the procedure that I've been following.
Okay, and what about putting them in the newsletter? You were talking about the approved minutes. Can they go in
Yeah,
the
so,
newsletter?
for instance, these approved minutes after today can certainly go into the newsletter, but depending on when your newsletter comes out, if there was ever a problem, if the minutes hadn't been approved, these minutes for today won't be approved till next meeting, so they obviously could only go in as a draft. Now, if somebody wants to do that, I send them to Robin on watermark that says draft. Whether she can print it out that way that says draft, that's up to the board whether they want to put unapproved minutes into the newsletter or not.
Or the approved ones? All right, please give me guidance.
Question.
I'm sorry, did you need guidance now, or can we do that after the meeting?
Oh, absolutely, we can do it after. Yeah, just trying to meet your desires.
Thank you.
So, one last question. So you, as of right now, your report is done. You have no further recommendations right at this moment to deal with any of our budget shortfall right at this moment?
Correct.
Anything else, any comments? Okay. And we'll get moving on with the rest of the agenda. Okay, reports. I guess my report's next. There is a whole lot going on at this meeting and discussions and whatever. I'm not going to take a lot of time. The only thing I'm going to address at this point is the building project. There had been a comment about the $12.5 million grant. The building committee has been very frustrated with the progress that has been made. One of the things we've been shooting for a long time is getting a project manager. And it just seems like those that were in charge of that never got around to it. So very recently we had the opportunity to interview a couple developers. And I believe the board is looking to possibly hire a project manager. And in that case, if this is done, if the board approves this, we will get started almost immediately clearing trees and preparing the property to get building on it. And so that's about the only update I have for that portion of it. We will be taking up a vote on that. So.
Do you want to do that during the committee report portion?
Yep. Go to the Vice President's report.
I have talked with Travis, Doug Travis. The Tuesday of the fair, if we can man the gate, the senior center, if we can man the gate, we will get 50% of the profits. And I brought this up at our last meeting. An organization did it last year. They made $500. The year before that, an organization did it, and they made almost $500. So we agreed. I talked with Denise and Leroy, and we're going to do it again this year. To do the gate, I had a sign made. Shelley's Shirt Shack on Port Farm Road made the sign for us. We'll hang this out by the gate, and then whatever donations come in, we put them in our apron, and then Doug Travis takes them back to his secretary, and within a week, I think a week or 2 weeks, we have our money, whatever it might be. But I still need some volunteers. I need a volunteer, 2 volunteers for between 2 and 4, 2 o'clock in the. By the way, Carolyn, do you know what the date would that would be of the fair, the Tuesday?
I can give it to you.
So I need a volunteer, 2 volunteers for between 2 and 4, and Roland is going to do that one. And I need 3 volunteers for between 4 and 6. And maybe 1 for 12 to 2 and 1 for 6 to 8. So
I believe it is the 8th.
board members that could help us out?
So anybody can just contact you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have the date,
I
Carolyn?
believe it is the 8th
August the
of
8th.
August.
And that's a Tuesday.
Please don't put any money on that, though. I'm pretty sure of that.
So if anyone could help us out that day, we'd sure appreciate it.
Just
I-
that one day.
Pardon?
Just the one day.
I'll talk to you after the meeting. Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay, concludes the Vice President's report. Move on to the Treasurer's report.
Okay, the beginning balance of the month, $132,921.25. The ending balance is $766,190.36. Because the difference between the beginning and the ending balance is that we got our millage money of $679,207.60, and also NIMSCA of $16,240.54. So that's the reason why those two deposits brought the ending balance up to $766,190.36.
Thank you, Ms. Budge. Okay, next up would be our Secretary's report.
Mainly, everything I have to talk about would be handled during either the financial report or the committee report. I will just mention that I have never, ever received any correspondence directly to me as ACCOA secretary, but I spend hours every day corresponding with people via email and phone and such like that. So I have no correspondence that's ever written to me directly. And everything else I can talk about, I'll talk about in another place.
Okay. And I guess we'll move on to program reports. Okay. I don't think we have any representatives here. Madam Executive Director, would you like to read those program reports?
Yes, sir. I have just the meals and in-home services. So there were for the month of May, there were 219 meals served to those over 60, the congregate meals, and 19 that were people who were under 60 who paid. For home delivered, there were 1,748 hot meals provided, 1,053 frozen meals, and 474 sack meals. That's food. Next is in-home services, the homemaking. We provided 322 hours of homemaking care, 70 hours of personal care, and 42 hours of respite services. That concludes my report.
I have a question regarding the in-home services. Are we still short direct care workers?
Yes, sir.
All right, and
We have
we're,
6.
I'm assuming we're putting efforts into filling those positions?
It's
Actively?
been ongoing advertisement. We had a couple people who were interested and were ineligible. We've had people who could not work for the amount of pay. We are currently paying a $2.35 an hour supplemental to the home care workers. There is, again, it's ongoing on Indeed, but no takers.
Are we, the rate we're offering, is it comparable to surrounding agencies?
No.
How deficient are we compared to other
I
areas?
would have to research that.
And I'd also like to know if you would research if the other areas are short numerous direct care workers like we are.
Okay, I will look into that.
I can speak to that.
Oh,
Within our region, I can tell you, it is common that they are short. It is a shortage here.
If I may, I know you've got it listed as hours. Do we know how many people, or would that be a violation of the?
I just don't have the facts in my hand right now. We can add that to the report in the future, if you'd like.
Please, thank you.
And also, I would like that for the future, if you could give us what it was a year ago, for instance, the same month, just so we compare year over year. It certainly would be nice to have last month's also next to that, but certainly at least 1 year over year to see what we were doing last year.
Okay, we can do that. There was a snapshot that I had proposed to. I don't know that that made it out to everybody, but we put together a snapshot of those kinds of things, all the services, the units, the number of people served, and the costs, and I think that kind of fell to the wayside. But I will prepare that again and have a draft for you. I'll send out a draft.
I have a question on direct care workers. When you hire a direct care worker, and we're short of direct care workers, do the direct care workers in the offices downstairs go out and direct care, or are they in the office all day long?
We do have people who do assessments, and we do have people who will have to shift their schedules to do home care. Now, it doesn't cover all of the needs all the time, but we do what we can. It's the same with the kitchen. If we have someone missing in the kitchen, we've got people who go in and work in the kitchen.
But I'm just curious, you know, if you're hired as a direct care worker and you're sitting there and there's not a whole lot to do, couldn't you go out?
The direct care workers, those who are assigned as direct care workers do not sit in the building.
Okay.
They come in, they check in, they get their marching orders, and they leave for the day.
I was just curious, I didn't know. That's why I'm asking if they have, time, do they go out on the road? That's what I was just asking.
Yeah, they're out on the road every day.
Thank you.
Do we have a waiting list of clients? Is there a
We
waiting
do.
list now?
Yes, we do, and I don't know, that was gonna be on that snapshot too. I don't have the number, but we can add that to that snapshot, if you like, number on the waiting list.
Okay, yeah.
I have a question. We are currently and have been quite a while short of DCW workers. Okay. I know I've had, I'll just say one phone call, someone who applied for the job, but never got an interview for the job. Is there any reason for that?
I would have to look into that, sir.
I would appreciate that.
I know we have two people at the desk downstairs, at different desks, that used to be direct care workers, but then they were brought into the office. When we need direct care workers, couldn't those two go back out into the field?
Well, we do have one person, I don't want to get into confidential information.
Correct.
But we do have one person who does assessments and follow-ups and coordination and gets cancellations and redirects people. So that person is needed to manage the operations. There's someone else that is a direct care worker twice a week and then does other duties twice a week, or 2 days a week, excuse me. I'm in the midst of doing an organizational assessment or a desk audit right now. So with all that's going on and the budget coming together, you're going to be seeing some recommendations. I just don't have those with me right now. It's not completed.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. If not, we'll move on to our financial report.
Yes, thank you.
I think some of the broad financial questions we'll talk about in the Finance Committee report.
Yes, sir. Given that it's a holiday coming up, a week from Monday is a day that Connie is going to ask that the Finance Committee meet again. Coming up, Connie Franzel is our new budget officer / accounting clerk. She's been hard at work, and we really appreciate what she brings to the table in terms of fiscal wisdom.
Is this your microphone? You can hear this. Mics aren't working.
We just ask that you speak up.
Okay. Try my hardest. So, what I prepared for the meeting today is the snapshot of where we're currently at. That's through the month of May. That's the latest data that I have from Stevenson's. I am working on completing the budget, which has something to look at the next couple of days. Waiting on some data from some employees on what they're projecting the expenses to be, and when I have that, I'm done. So, something to look at shortly. So, looking at the snapshot, I have the supporting data from Stevenson's right behind it, so that will give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So to get our revenue, what I had to do is back out the millage that's included in the 8 months ended, as well as the new building cost. And that gives us the remaining revenue of $25,330 that you see on the left. So that's our remaining revenue, and then our I also minused out our expenses. If you look to the right, we have our projected where we're going to be at by the end of this fiscal year. For revenue, we will have 86,000. Unfortunately, our expenses exceed that to the 172. That gives us a projected loss of 258,947. Then I backed out the proposed revenue that we will gain back by closing down the 3 departments, our transportation, the food bank, and the DHHS program. So that leaves us at a minus of 218,947. However, I do want to mention that when I dug deeper, the building expenses are included in that. So I can give you a rundown of what our building expenses were for this current year, and that's 294,815 is the total expenses. I got this information from Patty, who's been following this diligently. We submitted to the state for a reimbursement of $87,270, which gives us what's hitting our budget currently is $207,544. So, we need to look at that now. Part of our financial committee for next fiscal year, we discussed breaking out the new building in a separate budget so that we have a clearer picture of what we're looking at.
I'm gonna say this a little louder because I don't know that everybody could hear the numbers you were saying. That let me say that we are a projected deficit, expenses higher than revenue this year, of $258,947.45. That revenue shortfall has been mitigated by the programs we have thus far discontinued, which was $40,000 estimated. So that would leave us an estimated shortfall of this year of $218,947.45. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, and one other thing, the first line where it says millage, $679,207. I don't know that we've done a good job of explaining that the projected budget, that was a $212,000, 212,817 shortfall in what we got in millage funds because a millage expired that the previous administration did not renew. Am I correct in stating that,
You are correct.
Denise?
Correct.
Correct. So I'll get over the rest of it in the finance department.
I do have one question on line items there.
Mr. Barrett, can you speak up?
Okay, down on our line item where it says 8 months of millage used, and over here you have a $40,000 savings for, the programs that were discontinued.
Correct.
Okay, are wages included in that?
Yes.
Okay, look kind of low.
That's just projected. I mean, the next budget will clearly, we'll be able to see that very soon.
Okay.
That's coming.
I
So
have a question.
an estimate right now, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. If we were to sell the vehicles, that 218,000 would come further down off of that, right? Or no?
No, that's separate,
That's what-
because that's that was on a loan, so that's separate.
Okay.
Yeah, because that money would probably go to
Okay.
paying down that loan, for
Okay.
that 30-year loan that we have.
So I'll go into this again. Our fiscal year started ends in September 30th, starts October 1st. So right now, we're 10 months over budget, approximately, let's say, $15,000 a month, let's say, that we've been over budget for the last 10 months.
Correct.
Pause, and then we supposed to continue.
No, I'm just waiting for any other further questions. If we don't have any, I heard during the meeting that Mr. Turek asked about the fitness attendant and what her salary currently, what it is. I have that number for you. Would you like me to?
So we have, I couldn't quite hear you. The
Okay,
volume is so
the-
poor.
The fitness attendant that we had, you had earlier in the meeting asked for her salary so you could better understand, I think, where we were at, with bringing the gym back or not.
I think that's confidential information.
Okay, I do have that, so I can share it with the board at a later date.
I think we can safely say it doesn't take care of the 2018,
No.
218,000.
No, I think it was just more whether we want to keep the gym going or not.
Well, I mean, this might be a good time to just jump right into the whole finance while you're here. You know, the finance committee. We had 2 finance committee meetings. Your notes are in there for people to view. That we not only discussed, well, it's hard to talk about what we discussed until you lay it all out as to how much less money we have than we thought we were going to get. And I made you all a kind of a little short synopsis of that. We're $212,000, 212,817 short on millage funds that were not reflected in the budget that we inherited. So we're $212,000 and change short on funds just by the fact that the millage expired that was not either renewed or dealt with, and it was not reflected in the budget that you all inherited. You can confirm that that was not ever in any document that you ever saw that a budget was put forth where it reflected a millage expired.
That is correct.
I'm sorry, quick question. Whose responsibility is it to bring forth the millage? Because I just remember being on the receiving end of getting it on the Board of Commissioners. Was that the responsibility of the board or the executive director, or do you not know?
I do not know. I do not know. I know it is the responsibility of the Finance Committee and the Executive Director to put forth a proposed budget in front of the Finance Committee before the end of the fiscal year. The Finance Committee then recommends it to the board for adoption, and the board votes on it. That did not happen last September, October, November, December, did not happen. That the board did not approve a budget. The budget that was finally approved did not reflect that the millage expired. That was well known that it expired. When you apply for a millage, it says when it goes through what period of time. So for whatever reason, we're short that money because a millage was not renewed.
If I might interrupt just for one quick second, those millages, from what I remember sitting on the Board of Commissioners, drop dead was made to hit the August ballot, and I think drop dead was sometime in August to hit the November ballot. Is that correct?
I think so, what I
Madam,
see.
I think maybe it's July,
July. Okay, I'm sorry. I just-
April, July, I think.
So it could have been put, a renewal could have been put either on an August primary or on the November general. Correct, that's my understanding. The second line item I put down there is the hub expenses that we had incurred, paid out of ACCOA funds, was over $334,815. Of that, I got confirmation from MEDC, only 87,271 was eligible to be reimbursed, and that has been done. But that leaves a shortfall of $247,544 that are removed from ACCOA funds, never to return. That Denise and our budget officer have that much less money, the millage expiration plus the non-reimbursable hum, and then I added to that on the top line is the investment losses that we incurred last year of $173,486. So when you add those top three up, the ACCOA, our executive director, our budget officer, are trying to deal with $633,000, 633,847 of less funds than we would probably have liked to have had, one way or another. You add to that, we took out an additional loan of $150,000 that we're making payments on. We only used $101,000 of that, so what we show in savings, that balance of $48,000, that's not really money that we have saved. That's money that came out of a loan that we're making payments on. So that further lowers the amount of money that we actually have in our accounts. So the net result is we have much, much, much less money than we thought we would ever have, and we have much, much, much higher expenses than we have money to pay for. So this board has got to make some tough tough decisions on what we're going to do.
Mr. President?
Sir? Carol?
Mr. President, if I may just back up a little bit and make a comment on two things that I think have been left hanging a little bit. Regarding the village, ultimately, this board is the one that requests the millage, but anyone doing due diligence who is in charge of the finances of an organization should bring forward, by the way, board, you're going to lose one of your millages. What do you want to do about it? Ultimately, it is this board. But with proper guidance through the individual or individuals who are overseeing both the long term and the short term, it should have come forward. My second comment is regarding the usage of the grants and the $200,000 spent. Anyone who works with grants, more than one, knows full well that you cannot begin to use money until the date of the beginning of the grant. If you have a grant that starts in January of 23, you can't, true, you know you've got it, maybe. You could know you've got it in 2021, but you cannot spend it. Anybody who's worked with grants knows that. So it really should never have been spent. And thought that it was grant money that was being spent. The project maybe needed to be done. I'm not passing judgment on that part of it. What I do pass judgment on is the fact that they utilized money that didn't belong to them yet.
I'm sorry, and some of this was brought up by Susan Cray as far back as to us as in February or March, when she discussed that there was issues with the millage. She also discussed some other things that I think Denise has done a fabulous job of dealing with them, as many things as she possibly could have.
Director Turk, I just got a question for you too, as far as having the information to go through all of this stuff. Was it available when Director Trefla hired on board? What was available for information to go through?
I don't think we had a total amount of hub expenses that had been spent at all. But I think we tracked that down with Stevenson. Correct? I think
these
we were
records,
not.
then you're saying were not really available to the director when she stepped into position, then all this stuff was not present.
Correct. I don't know if you knew that we had $633,000 less than. But I don't know that you knew that our budget was allowing for 2 millages and 1 millage had expired.
No, this all came together about April last month timeframe where we discovered all this. There was very little information to go to when I first got on board. Like Director Turek said, Dr. Turek said, Susan Cray was the first that said, wait a minute, something's wrong with the millage. And then the more we researched, and Connie's been a big help too, Patty's been a big help, pulled this all together, and we had a uh-oh moment. And there have not been any building expenses since I've started, because we've got the architects still working with the design that we need to give them.
So, you know, in Susan Cray's report in March, she mentions there that there's something wrong with the millage. She had mentioned to us in February that there was issues. On one other question, since we're on her report, she had said specifically that, first let me say that there are almost 0 files in the executive director's office. I was unable to find many, if any, contracts, applications, notes, or documents related to the SBA loan and other topics that I attempted to study. Have you been able to find those missing papers, documents, everything to your satisfaction?
Not all of them. There were some bodies of work found in Tony's old office that had to do with grants. A lot of the stuff with the building, Patty had just started pulling together, but there really was an absence of documentation.
Yeah, and you never found a budget that reflected the loss of 1 millage.
Oh, the budget was never right, no. The budget was trash. So.
And also, just let me comment, that budget came to the Board of Commissioners as approved by this board. That was the image that was given to us. Here is our budget. The ACCOA board has approved this budget. That's the requirement when it comes to us. I don't think y'all ever saw it.
And it did not happen. That is not in the minutes that the board ever approved the budget until early this year. So, and that was the budget that you inherited that did not reflect that 1 millage had expired. So, you know, getting into the finance committee, we had started off talking about, okay, we have such amount of fund. Can we delineate how much will be put towards possible catastrophic roof failure or boiler failure? I think it completely morphed into we don't have any money to do any of those things until we know what our next. Not only do we have to deal with this budget shortfall that's the next 3 months until this fiscal year is done, but going forward in the next year, I'm not sure we have any money to set aside for anything. Building, reserves, anything. So that's something we're continuing to work on, but you know, short of recommendations, you know, as a big picture, as a board member, I would say to my executive director, I only have 2 goals: provide services for seniors and balance the budget, not spend 1 penny more than you're taking in. An impossible task for you right now. What do you need for the board? Are you waiting for something from the board to address these budget shortfalls? Because I think we need to do it ASAP.
Well, we need Connie to finish the budget so we have an accurate picture of where we are, where we're going, incoming, outgoing. And then we need to look at different programs. And my thought was to provide options to the board with different, if we cut this, we'll save this much money. If we cut this, we'll save this much. And then allow you to pick and choose what is most important to you and the citizens of the county. I also have to throw out that I think that grant writing is becoming very important for the executive director to be doing. Should be an area of focus to bring more money in.
I would agree. If I was a grant issuer, I would look very hard at ACCOA, who is $200-some thousand over budget, and I think that would negatively affect my view of ACCOA when they're that much over budget. So I think until we deal with this, any grants we're going to be getting or applying for, I think those people are going to be looking at us saying they haven't managed well the money they have. Why should we give them more?
Possible.
I guess I would have a question. In light of Susan Cray, when she came on board, she left a list of things that we should be doing as far as the budget goes, eliminating programs and such. Has there been any layoffs for the budget test?
I'm sorry, layoffs?
Have there been any personnel layoffs?
No.
Reduction in personnel?
Again, we need a clear budget to see where we're at before we start making changes. We skimmed off the 3 programs that we knew we were bleeding money from. Those went away right off the bat. That was just last month. So now we've got Connie. She just started. She's getting the budget together. By next month, there are some things up in the air right now, but my and Connie's task at this point is to come up with those options. What do you want to cut? Is that how you want to approach it? I mean, if you want Connie, to do it a different way, please let us know now so we can get you what you would like.
Now, I'd just like some clarification. I mean, we did away with some programs, but do we still have the employees that were running those programs?
So the pantry person has been let go, the part-time pantry person has been let go, the NAMT drivers were let go. That ended just Friday. We have the person who managed that program who is working with the sale of the vehicles and closing that out right now. Yeah, that's where we're at with that.
I certainly say we have enough money in the savings to go one more month, but I would hope to have some firm recommendations for the board next month on what we need to do to address this.
And I believe that the finance committee could be part of that, developing those courses of action or recommendations.
Correct.
One last question for me on this. Could you give us a timeline? I know when we hired Connie, one of the reasons badly needed, and at that point we were looking at eliminating book work from Stevenson. Do we have a timeline on when that might happen?
Connie?
So I was working on I've been feverishly trying to get the budget complete, so we are ready for the July 10th committee meeting for our review. But I also am working on getting QuickBooks up and running right after I get the budget complete. And once I get that running, then yes, we're going to do that very shortly. Very shortly. That's my goal. That's my goal.
Thank you.
I would like to maybe make a suggestion that you look into why we have
Point of order, Mr. President. I think we need to be careful here at this point. I'm sorry.
What did I say?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll table the rest of this discussion for a later time.
Sure.
I'm going to add one other thing we talked about in the Finance Committee, that Connie is going to save us an abundant amount of money by being able to get rid of I mean, I hate to sound like that, but it's about dollars and cents, to get rid of Stevenson accounting firm. So, this is, I consider her an investment that is going to benefit the ACCOA by quite a large amount, if we can do what I think she's going to be able to do and bring things back in home.
Oh, Carolyn, yes.
One additional thing before we kind of move on. It is quite unusual to get an operational grant. So remember, grants are not the solution. They're helpful, they'll let you do something new or continue something maybe. But grant is very specific, just like a building grant. It's very specific. There are things we can do, things we can't do. But most grants will not allow you to just go in and pay your people and pay for things that you should be paying for with your routine budget. So please don't look at grants as the end all to any problems, financial problems that we have.
Yes, ma'am. How about fundraisers?
In theory, you would specify what your fundraiser for. Yeah, a fundraiser, you're orchestrating that. You're setting the guidelines for that. I'm talking about either a federal or a state grant. Or even like if you've got a grant from Community Foundation or anything. There are very specific things you can use that for. And it's not to bolster your basic payment of the rent and the utilities.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And we did, one other thing, we did set up, and it's taken longer to get an online account access for the grant funds so that you will be able to pay grant expense, community hub expenses out of that account. It's taken longer since it was a corporate account, but it's in the works, so.
Okay, correct. That conclude our discussion?
Not with that committee. I'm interested in the new building project, so subcommittee.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We need to bring up, as Secretary Churik just mentioned, I guess we're going to have to propose a motion to, for us to hire a project manager for the hub project. In our discussions that we've had so far, we're looking at I believe it's Andy Shaw Development, is that the name of Andy Shaw's? Okay. So I'm going to put forth a motion that we hire Andy Shaw to be our project manager. And
Can you belay that just for a second? We'll talk about, are you willing to put forth at a certain percentage that he had given us? Or are you aware of those percentages that he had quoted us?
Yeah, I don't have them in front of me, but
I'll put forth the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
That I would move that our president enter into an agreement with Andy Shaw to basically take over our program, our housing project, our community hub project, as a developer and a construction manager at the negotiated rate of 1% developer fee and 7% construction manager fee. And this is subject to our lawyer analyzing the legal document.
I thought he said 6 to 7%. I like 6.
So do I. So do I.
I'll second that motion.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Does that money come then out of the 12.5 million?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
Just going back to some of the estimates we had gotten late last year. The first one that I had objected to proposed a construction manager fee of 20%. If you all recall that, and maybe I'm sure it's on a video. Andy Shaw, 7%. Previous developer fee we had seen, looking in some of the contracts that we had debated and did not agree with proposals. His developer fee of 1%, very low. So he would be basically taking on this project, lives here in Harrisville, committed to the project, will be there 60 hours a day, 60 hours a week. He would be there 60 hours a day if he could. 60 hours a week, basically living on that spot and get us going again. I don't think anybody is happy with the speed that we've been. We signed another proposal with them back in March with the current, and we're just not getting where we need to go. We're extremely lucky to have somebody who has done projects like this around the country, who lives right here and can step up for us.
I would make another comment too, that from the very beginning, we were looking at Andy Shaw to take over this project, but circumstances weren't right. He had some other things that were planned, and since then, thankfully, his plans have changed, and now he has become available, and very excited about it. Any other discussion?
And this gentleman can start fairly soon?
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprised me if he's already been started on it. He's been in contact with the building administrator, I believe fireman up in Alpena, and solved the fire suppression issue that already is going to save us, he said, from $200,000 to $300,000, the solution they came up. The good thing about hiring Andy as a developer and construction manager is that he will deal with the SIDOC firm that we've had a proposal with. So we really don't need, nothing in our proposal with them has precluded having a developer and construction manager. In fact, that's been part of the plan all along, for us to hire a construction manager, but at a fee of $29,000, that basically, if this board acts on this now, we've saved $29,000 of them having to do that.
Grant money.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Nobody? Okay. Gary?
I guess I'm just want to be clear, what is the scope of what we are doing with Andy Shaw right now?
Well, will be the developer, the project manager. He will take care of getting the architect, the engineers.
No, I mean, do we know what the scope is? Just the senior center or the community help, I guess, we are now putting in for?
That is not nailed down. That will be up to the board. We will be having several committee meetings with Andy and the architects, find out exactly what we're after. What the board decided on before is, number one, we want the senior/community center, okay? We need the outdoor amenities, which, pavilion, gazebo, maybe some, basketball or cornhole projects. And a few other things, and then also we're looking at some senior housing. And so all of this, of course, is going to depend on the dollars, and that's one of the things that Mr. Shaw will be looking at, is getting prices, taking care of all the, like Bob mentioned right now, just the fire suppression problem alone is quite a savings, and he's also working now since basically the sewage. Since we have no public sewer to tie into, we're going to have drain fields and tanks, and he's looking at a new style, new engineering that could possibly save us a lot more and be a lot more efficient. And so he's on the ball. He's doing a lot of really good leg work. This is what he does for a living. So
I'm good, thank you.
And other than that, basically, the board can pretty much sit back. Of course, we will still have our input and have our meetings and whatever, but we can get a little bit of a deep breath from the running and gunning. Any other discussion? I believe we do have a motion. Bob, and that's been seconded?
Dolores, second.
Okay, everybody, okay, then we'll have to have a roll call, sorry.
Potter?
Yes.
Turek? Yes. Parent?
Yes.
Schlicker?
Yes.
Bain?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Lenox?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right. Okay, and any other committee reports? That take care of everything.
I do have one. We're going to call it, and it's in my
I
section.
would like to make a motion, if you, I will go with that for you. Director Turek had sent us the guidelines from the attorney.
Correct.
On how this board is supposed to function. So I would like to make a motion that we adopt that report and use that as guidance as to how we function from here forth until we polish up our policies and procedures manual.
I'm going to second that, and that's under the secretary portion. And this is the report that you all received last month, from our attorney as a memorandum. It says, initial guidance to new board of directors, that basically lays down what we're involved in, what the executive director is involved in, and having no confusion as to what our responsibilities and what our limitations are. And there's really never been such a thing with the ACCOA, so this would basically be telling us this is what your responsibilities and limitations are. We kind of codify it and have it right in here from now on.
So,
And I would recommend that be a roll call since it is policy.
so that was your motion?
Yes.
And Dr. Turek, second?
I second it.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Bain?
Yes.
Schlicker?
Yes.
Turek? Yes. Lenox?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yep.
Weiner?
Yes. Okay. Motion is carried.
And then I have one other thing, if we would consider it as either unfinished business or part of the fundraising committee. Somebody had talked about last month, and I think we've talked about it, what to do with the dispose of the property in Harrisville. I think,
No response back from any of them.
can we act on that and decide either to list that or, and at the same time, this might be a stupid question, could we run a raffle? I mean, I've bought tickets to win houses in Italy before. Can we sell raffle tickets for people to buy this property?
I'll make
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we dispose of the property that was questionably purchased last September.
Do you want me to put that in?
Yes, please.
No, I was just going to say,
Get
I
rid of
can
the
contact
property in Harrisville.
more and more.
Second was
I'll second.
discussion. I mean, is it I don't see how we can't do both. I mean, we can list that, put that back on the market, but then I have no idea. Maybe a house in Italy is more desirable than swampland in Harrisville. I don't know, but
Well, you have to, Mr. President,
Yes.
you have to still pay taxes on that property, so this is going to be a deficit as well. So I'm either agreeable to either we sell it or we raffle it. I could go either way. Because it's going to cost us money every year. It's not going to benefit this organization.
I'm going to look into that farther with Mr. Summers from the Equalization Department, being a 501c3 board and how, the committee. Do we actually pay taxes on that? Being a 501 nonprofit government entity, we are. So why are we paying taxes is my question.
Well, I'm not sure if we are. That was my assumption.
But
I mean,
I do know when the past director bought that, it was approximately give or take a few dollars, $9,981, I believe, off the top of my head. And the
I'll
back
go with
taxes were paid.
10,000.
It was just under 10 grand. And the back taxes were paid. I don't know if the ACCOA has received any tax statements since then. Carol, you?
Taxes were paid because it was a tax sale property.
Correct.
And so you paid back taxes.
Correct. Okay.
Whether you're paying forward, I think you have to apply for that waiver of tax. But yes, you paid taxes, but they were back taxes and they were part of the price of the piece of land.
When he bought it, prior,
Correct.
or since then, have we received any tax statements from the county? Because that would be something that we would try to get waiver, being a 501c3.
Well, the other thing, I guess my other question though, but going along the financial lines, is are we paying insurance on that? Because I'm sure there's gotta be some type of liability insurance in case somebody gets hurt on it. So I mean, to me, I'm seeing this as bleeding money.
Right, with insurance that we carry more, I'm going to say, being past president of the village, it's an umbrella policy, I believe, that the ACCOA carries, and that would more than likely, without talking to Mr. Lappin or our insurance agent, that would fall under the umbrella.
It would have to be listed on the policy though.
Okay, but would that increase cost? I'm not sure. Without checking.
I'll check on that.
Okay, would you please?
I do have a comment on that. When I signed this check one day, there was made out, I believe it was to the city of Harrisville. I questioned it, and it was for taxes on that property.
Okay.
So Denise would probably be able to give you a definite answer, but I'm pretty sure that we are paying taxes.
And I will be acting on that ASAP.
Okay.
Okay.
So, anyway, we want to dispose of this property. Okay, so we have a motion to either sell or raffle, whatever listed.
To dispose. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If the raffle is not a possibility, I would say that dispose of the property. How's that? Dispose of the property either via a sale or raffle.
Or whatever means possible.
Whatever means possible.
Legally. Legal means.
Correct.
Well, after what's been, the acquirement of that property, I want to make sure we do it legally.
I'll add that to it.
Absolutely.
Could
Legally, of course.
Could we ask, like Vice Real Estate or a realtor to go over and give us a value and advertise it for us and try it?
Well, that's part of the motion.
That's part, yeah.
Yeah.
It's disposing of it, yeah.
That's part of the motion. Okay. Any other discussion on this matter? Now we'll have a roll call.
Lynch,
Yes.
Weinar,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes.
Perrin,
Can I vote twice? Yes, yes.
Turek, yes. Benup,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Schlicker.
Yes.
She should be allowed to vote 3 times.
Okay, motion carries to get rid of the red herring. Okay. Okay. Now, was there any other committee reports there, Mr. Secretary? Finish it up. Bob, did you have anything else?
I did not.
Okay. So then, we go to unfinished business. Okay.
I think we handled that.
Yep. I was going to say that was a disposition of the transportation program, blah, blah, blah. Okay. New business. Anybody have any new business to bring up?
We're going to vote on the new director?
Yes. Okay. I'm not sure if this has been taken care of yet. Can I step in front of you on this one? Sure. Okay. We do have a resignation letter in front of us that we need to vote on. And I think most people know that the executive director, Denise, has put in her resignation. That was on May 31st. And so we will have to have a motion to accept that resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept Denise's resignation.
Okay. Rich, do I have a second? Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion on that?
I'm just kind of wondering if we're talking about selecting a new director, I'd like to table this and then get the director and then accept the resignation. I don't know if that's a proper order or not. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I don't know, I want to make sure that the new executive director has their choice.
Because, I mean, we
as to
would then
whether they want the previous executive director, Denise, to stick around for how long she would stay. She said she'll stick around till, I believe, July 14th. She has so I kind of want, maybe, I think it could be done either way.
Then I'll make a motion to table for right now because we can untable and go back to it and finish there.
In the same.
Yes, that's what I.
So we're just going to turn around.
Yes, sir. So I make a motion to table. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No discussion.
On the table.
I think we should have a roll call.
We should,
Also.
yeah.
Let's just say it.
Point of order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There was already a motion on the table.
Yeah, we're tabling the motion. That's what we've agreed to do for right now.
Yeah, that's part of the motion. Table the first one, and now we.
Then we can untable and go back to the first.
Okay.
Potter.
Yes.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Weiner.
Yes.
Perrin.
Yes.
Turek. Yes. Vidal.
Yes.
Bain.
Yes.
Schlicker.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have another motion now?
No, I'll let somebody make the motion.
Okay, so now, probably as most people know, we've been advertising for the position of executive director. Okay. We had resumes and a committee to bring forth their recommendations, and the committee brought forth a recommendation for 3, and I have a letter I need to read. Excuse me a moment while I find it in my confusion here. Too much stuff. Oh, well, anyway, I will just, don't have it here in front of me.
Well, while you're looking for that, I just want to make sure everybody knows we had 3 fabulous candidates that I think all 3 of them would serve us very well. So I hope whoever we choose or whoever we don't choose know that we had a very tough decision put before us, and we're trying to do the best we could. I liken it to the show Top Chef, where the judges get down to the very end and they have to decide between 2 fantastic meals, and they just pick one little thing. They try to nitpick or say this is a little bit better, or, you know, when they're both fabulous. So it's kind of what we had. We have 3 great candidates, and we're extremely lucky.
Having been on that search committee, if I may, I wholeheartedly agree with Director Turek. This is kind of like, gee, you know, I really don't want to make the decision. It's that tough.
Right. And to add to that, we've had 3 candidates. We've had 1, I can't find, I can pull up the email and read it, but anyway, one of the candidates pulled out last night. So we have 2 candidates right now to vote on. Okay. So, board of that, so if we have, anyone wants to bring forth a motion to vote on somebody?
I will make a motion that the board hire Wendy Bain to be our next executive director.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I hate to add one more motion, but I'd like to make a motion on behalf of Director Bain.
Go ahead.
I would like to excuse Director Bain since she's involved in this.
That was next.
Correct.
Yes.
To be excused where her vote doesn't count in either direction.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Does she have to leave?
No.
We are to leave.
You don't
Oh,
have
I
to
thought I
leave.
had
No.
to leave.
No. You just excuse.
You can if you
from
want,
vote.
but you don't have to. You just can't vote on this.
Or you can vote on being excused.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I second the motion.
Do it.
I think the effective date will kind of depend on how the vote goes and whether, if Wendy is hired, how long she wants to have training with Denise, getting with the current executive director and what's best for ACCOA and what's best for both of them.
Was there a second to my motion to excuse me?
I don't.
I seconded it. Am I
Okay,
allowed
she
to?
can, yeah, you're allowed, she's allowed, she's second.
Okay, so, let's read. We have a motion to exclude Wendy Bain from voting in this matter. We had a second already, didn't we?
When you vote,
Okay,
when you
Wendy
second, because she's allowed to vote on
Okay,
this.
is there any discussion on that matter? Okay, then we'll have a vote. All in favor, say aye. Roll call?
No, that'll work, yeah,
To
I'm
excuse
sorry.
her.
Yes, to excuse her from voting, okay.
Yes.
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Wendy is excluded from voting on this issue. All right. Now, I'd like to go ahead, motion carries.
So I made the motion to hire Wendy Bain, Phil seconded it? And we're having discussion now.
Second, okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this matter?
Do we have a timeline when she's going to start, or is that something she decides, or Debbie decides?
Well, we're going to
When would
have
this-
that subject to the rest of the stuff that's going on, and we'll have to consult with the next person that's elected and
Tomorrow.
okay, so, any other discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and have a roll call vote.
Potter?
Yes.
Schlicker?
Yes.
Lenox?
Yes.
Turek? Yes. Lynch?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes. Okay. So, motion carries. Okay, so, okay, that was by unanimous vote. So, make a motion, so.
We can untable, I think we can make a motion to untable the table on the next step. Accepting Denise's resignation. So I'll make a motion to untable my motion.
I'll second.
All right.
And then we'll have to be a roll call.
Yeah, okay. Roll
And
call.
Wendy's
This is on
excluded now, I think.
Untabling the last table with Denise.
And refresh my memory, who made the motion and second to accept Denise's resignation?
I made the motion.
You guys seconded it.
Yeah.
Dolores.
So, Dolores.
Slicker and Bang.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a motion, it's been seconded, okay? Is there any discussion?
Just want to thank Denise for guiding us as far as she's guided us, and wish her the best in her newest endeavors.
I would concur. I mean, I just can't imagine if anybody knew 3 months ago what she was walking into. I know Phil said you're walking into Hornet's Nest. I don't think you knew financially what she was going to have to do and what she has done. Is the job done? No. But, you know, I think for where we were 3 months ago and what's come up since then, she's done a fabulous job.
Any other discussion?
Call the vote.
Could we have our secretary maybe write a thank you to Denise for,
Yeah, I'm sure we can take care of all that. But, so for right now, there's a vote before us, or a motion to vote to accept the resignation of Denise Trout. Okay, so roll call.
Lynch?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Turek? Yes. Lenox?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Schlicker.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Accept the resignation.
Kind of lost here just a little bit.
Pardon?
Mr. President, I'm a little lost here at this point. So we voted to give her the position of executive director. Do we have a start date on that?
Not as yet. That's something we'll have to negotiate. I mean, I would say, now, but she.
To make it simple, maybe we could just say July 1st, which would be July 3rd, because that's the first Monday.
I think if Denise and Wendy have a good working relationship they've built over the last couple of months, they can kind of work out what's going to suit both of them and suit ACCOA the best.
Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion for the hiring date if Wendy will accept it?
I'll make a motion that we have Wendy start on July the 3rd, which is a Monday.
Would that be possible for Wendy? You have conflict there. I mean, it's understood if you do.
Yeah.
I would ask Director Schlicker to modify it maybe July 5th after the holiday or 6th. Would that be more amenable?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to
I would.
to
Because I
amend
have
it?
to reach out to my employer. So, can't do it tomorrow,
No, I understand.
So are we looking at a date?
Can you read that? I can't read it.
No, I can't read it either.
May I
Remove it from the board.
interrupt? If she's going to be the new exec, she needs to be removed from the board.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We have to remove it from the board.
She'll have to be removed from the board before she can become the new executive director.
Okay.
Well, yeah, when I started today, but yeah, you'll have to write your resignation.
Yeah.
I would think that when you and Denise get a date, then the executive board can vote to accept your resignation effective that date, and then it'll be ratified at the next board meeting. Commissioner, is that?
But I can start before the next board meeting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could phrase it two ways, that you start on such a date, or we could say that you start no later than the final date that Denise has put in. If somebody wants to amend the motion that way.
Point of information, I'm kind of lost what I was going to ask. It had to do with the start date. I'm sorry.
I'm just looking at
Yeah, oh, I know what I was going to ask. Never mind. Can the executive committee, that's the point of information I was asking, can they do the start date where it only takes you
Yes.
guys and then we can just confirm it at the bigger meeting?
I think
so. Would that be amenable?
Yes. That can be done.
That's what I would,
Okay.
that was a train that got lost.
Sorry. So then, that part's probably settled then, so, okay? So, now where we at? What's next? We've accepted the resignation, and
We filled the director.
is there any other new business? None? We don't have any new business, okay. Well, in that case, I guess we've come to the point of public comment. Or anybody would like to comment? Okay. In fact,
Patty Thomas, Harrisville Township. I'd like to request that the guidelines that were presented by your attorney and approved by this board be made publicly available, possibly on the website, so that the public will know what the expectations for the responsibilities for the board are and those of the newly hired director, executive director for the agency. The other comment that I would like to make is I'm not sure what happens with transportation now for our seniors. in Alcona County. Some mention was made of Thunder Bay being available. I think it's a fairly limited availability for getting a ride to your doctor somewhere. But do we have a plan for alternative? Other than feeding seniors, getting them to their doctor's appointments seems to me like pretty high priority for a senior services.
Thank you. Another, Karen, you have comment?
Karen Shermanoff from Hans Township. I would really appreciate, and I'm praying for you guys every day, fix those microphones. You say, speak loud, everybody. Not everybody speaks loud. And I hear some say, what did you say? So please, please, please fix those mics so everybody can be heard. This is why we come here, to hear you. We can't ask you any questions, but we can tell you what we would like. So thank you.
Noted. Thank you.
Pam McKinnon, don't forget me. Welcome, Wendy. Thank you. Can't believe it started all at the pop-up pantry. It was nice to meet you that day. I know you know what you're walking into, and for you to walk into it, thank you, thank you, thank you. My heart is absolutely broken to what has been done to the senior center. And to sit here and listen to how the previous board let it get so bad in what they've done to it. And I know there's people that want their food and they want transportation and they want this and that, but they're not hearing the fact that you guys are in a position, you don't have no choice. You're lucky to have the doors open. If people want these services, maybe they should reach out, figure out how they can volunteer and help, just like this lady did picking up the pop-up food pantry. You want to transport people that need it? Everybody needs somebody. So get up, volunteer, open up your checkbook and open up your hearts and get with it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Can I address one of the things that the person said earlier about personnel being nasty to them? That they've come to me and told me about it, and that.
Point of order, sir.
I would like to explain to them.
Yeah,
We don't.
I don't think that'd be proper at this time, so move on.
Yeah, there is no interaction between the board and the.
But there is a director's final comment period. And anybody who wants to say anything after the public comment, that's fine.
Right. Okay. I think I saw a hand in the back. Yes.
Margie Katsara, Haynes Township. First of all, thank you, all of you, the hard work that you've done. You've come a long way, and I do think a lot of that's attributed to the executive director, Denise. I mean, she did a lot of work. She even suggested hiring Connie. Now that's some forward thinking for a person who is leading us. I was really happy to hear about your attorney suggesting a guidance for all of you. You've gotten a lot better. However, there's still a lot of talking over happening on the board. The president has final say of what's happening, and it's very confusing when you change a motion midstream. I can't imagine how confusing it is for the secretary, let alone those of us sitting here. Please work on that, because that's why it's so important to have the minutes. I'd like to see the minutes, the draft of them here at the meeting so that we can review them before. And then if you have any comments and you can delineate those answers at the board meeting, it's going to be very helpful to all of us. So the attorney's guidance, so glad to hear that, and that would be great for you to put on your website to let people know that you're moving forward. You know, I really appreciate the information that you've given about the grant. I understand how hard that is. But in closing, I'd like to say it takes a lot of valor for a person not to diminish those who preceded them. Please stop doing that. It does not make you any better of a person. Christian or not.
We don't like to.
Christian or not, move forward totally. And I appreciate the work you're doing. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other last comments?
Rich Ray Harrisville. I would agree with Margie that diminishing of anybody prior to you is not proper. But I would also say that there have been some things that this place has been accused of. And I think that from what I've heard today, there were things that were happening finance and budget-wise that weren't wise. And although you can't diminish it, I think that as you stand now and move forward, that when it needs to be brought forward, not in a diminishing way, but in defense of what's going on now because of what happened prior, that you should feel free to do that. And I know that in the community, there are many that actually think the same way, because there were things that were done that were not proper, that we've all suffered from. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other comments? Okay. Seeing none, move on. Okay, so that's time for director's final comments. Rick, you have a comment? No? I guess it means no?
It means no.
Okay. Any other directors want to comment?
I'll make a comment.
Yes, sir.
You know, unfortunately, everybody keeps looking at this organization as being a catch-all and a help-all to everybody. We were here for the seniors. We never had transportation programs before. You know, we ventured off onto something that really, really sucked us down. You know, and to the point that was made from the audience, you know, I don't think people really grasp what it was that this board had to go through over the last, I would say since all this got exposed in September. Had this not all been brought forth, nobody would have known nothing. There are people that are sitting out there that have given their time and their efforts to help get this to light. A lot of people have. And it wasn't because we hated somebody. It was because we saw what was taking place. This place was removed from its scope. It used to be the ACCOA was a senior center, and it was tried to be made as a brand. We've had people in here trying to say how much we needed public housing. Well, that is not the goal of ACCOA. We are not here for public housing. Our goal, our mission, is to help the seniors with the aging, through the aging process.
Amen.
And it is not to become a community action group where we take care of all the needs of Alcona County. We can't do it. We haven't the funding to do it. And you know, we put those things aside, and we have come here to at least try to mitigate the damage that has taken place that I have seen over the last 10 months. That's the best we can hope for. That's the best we can do. I thank directors Perrin and Turek for walking into a hornet's nest as well, to help turn this mess around. This is, you know, a lot of things have been going on this board. There's been a lot of situations and a lot of things that gets aired on public media that, you know, I think frankly people just need to stay out of. We've been hired to do a job, and we are trying the best we can. Unfortunately, we have a problem. We're people, and we screw up. But we're trying to do the level best we can for this community. And I'm sorry, that's the end of my comments.
Directors have a comment?
I have a comment. I would really like to encourage all of you to come and eat at 5 o'clock Monday through Thursday. It's true, we're only getting 5 and 6 people sometimes. Sometimes we have as many as 20. But we need more people to come and eat. So get your elderly neighbor that doesn't drive or just needs to get out of the house, and bring them in and play some games. We have puzzles, we have the television, but just get them out of their home, bring them down for socializing. That means a lot to a senior citizen, just to get them out of their house, bring them down, talk to the guy across the table. And if we can't get the people up, we're gonna have to cut some days. And I hate to see that happen. I was hoping we could get more people for congregate meals. So keep that in mind. Bring your neighbor or your grandma or your elderly aunt and come and eat with us.
Call by 11, order.
Oh, yes. Yeah, if you can, call by 11. That helps the kitchen know how many to prepare for.
Thank you.
There's myself and another lady that been staying with me, helps me out, and I help her out. Her granddaughter, and about 3 or 4 others come just about every night here. And we joke, have a great time, joking with one another, telling jokes and that. And we'd like to share it with more people, and people at the place starts on Tuesdays. They usually stay and eat too. So then there's some, one guy that comes in quite often that can hardly walk with a walker. So if he can make it, I'm quite sure that there's some others that can make it too and have a good time with us. We sure appreciate it.
I just want to say real quick that Director Potter has an appointment he has to get to, so.
There's no other business.
I'd like
Unless
to
there's
make a
another
motion
comment.
to adjourn, unless somebody else has got a comment.
Okay, now your motion to adjourn?
I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the executive director, and
To be the latest stone in the Shark Tank?
and that my door will always be open. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions, feel free to call or come in.
You might regret that.
My motion still stands, sir.
Okay, we have a motion for adjournment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Don't need any discussion. All those in favor of adjourning?
Definitely.
Aye. Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.